has put it on the deck. Dramatic race so far. That's his second time on the asphalt here at Indianapolis. Zanetti goes into a tuck, Fong with his head down. Lorenzo Zanetti with the win. A Ducati on the top step of the podium. To the line it goes by the slimmest of margins, takes the win.
Welcome to WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca for the 9th and final round of the 2020 MotoAmerica Championship Series. I'm your host, Hannah Lopa. Like most things in 2020, the start of our season was delayed and ultimately slightly shortened. We missed our fans at several locations throughout this season, but what wasn't missing was great racing and high action on the road to crowning this season's champions. WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca is located about 10 miles inland from the coast of Monterey, California. The 2.2-mile road course was built in 1957 at a cost of $1.5 million, raised by local businesses and individuals. The area where the track lies was once a lake, and the course was built around the dry lake bed, hence the name Laguna Seca, which in Spanish means dry lagoon. The world-famous Corkscrew is the combination of turn 8 and 8A. The 18-meter drop in elevation, blind crest and apex on the approach makes it one of the motorsport world's most challenging turns. With Halloween around the corner, you could probably call it one of the scariest sections of track on any of the road courses on our circuit. We caught up with some of our riders to see what they would call a scary section at our different tracks. Plus an added bonus, ask them what they're dressing up for on Halloween.
I would definitely have to say the Corkscrew. I'm not immune to it yet. It is a roller coaster every time.
I'd have to say the scariest corner for me out of the tracks we've gone to is the chicane at Pittsburgh. It's a real one line through there and can get a little hairy.
The ridge, that kind of like the Corkscrew here, but it's it's a lot more steeper, I feel like, and it's a lot tighter.
Chicane at Jersey, the left-hander, because it gets pretty sketchy when it's cold. You don't have a lot of temperature in the front tire, and it's easy to wreck.
At the ridge, which is the super tight corner at the top of the hill, probably. That's the scariest corner I've ridden this year, I think.
I think the scariest section of one track, I think for me, is the Corkscrew in Laguna Seca.
Probably the Corkscrew on a bagger. Or turn 1 on a bagger. I don't know, or every corner on this track on a bagger. That's for sure been the scariest thing. The bike handle's good, but it's not a super bike, so it's been pretty much scary in every corner.
Scariest section of the track, the ridge. I don't know the number of the turn, but the fast right-hander up the hill, kind of facing some guardrail, so a little sketchy. Not so bad in the dry, but I don't think I would want to ride it in the rain.
At the ridge, coming into, I think it was 13, really tight left at the top of a hill, and you're coming in there braking and the rear end sliding all over the place, and you really just got thrown in, and you just got to feel what the front and rear is doing, and that's probably the scariest one for me.
Scariest track on the calendar. We're here at Laguna this weekend, and probably turn 1 at Laguna. You go over the crest, and you're full throttle, and the front's chattering. I'd say turn 1 at Laguna.
Scariest corner on the circuit. My personal nightmare was Atlanta. That first part that I just couldn't get it right. I've had nightmares about that ever since.
I am dressing up for Halloween, and that's my face is actually going to be shaved, and I'm going to try and look young again.
We were talking about doing something with Scooby-Doo, since we got Shaggy, to kind of fit the theme. So we'll see.
This year for Halloween, I think my girlfriend and I are going to be dressing up as James and Jesse from Pokemon. Team Rocket.
Candy corn. I hate candy corn. I'm super scared of it, so I think it's a reasonable costume.
I'm boring, man. I don't think I'm dressed up for Halloween. We got lots of little kids in our family now, so we'll probably go and hang out with them for Halloween and just see them be stoked.
My Halloween costumes, I like to get really creative. Usually a t-shirt with some words inscribed on it that means something funny. And last year it was a hot pink t-shirt that said, "I'm a unicorn dressed as a human."
Halloween this year, I think I'm going to dress up as Phantom of the Opera.
I am not planning to dress up for Halloween, but my kids might have something different to say about that, so I'll have to report back to you on that one.
On social media leading up to the last round of the year, Brandon Posh was out in California training with his new teammate, Supersport champ Richie Escalante. Josh Herron was getting some quality time with his performance machine bike for the King of the Baggers race. JD Beach, the winningest rider in MotoAmerica Supersport history, got a little track time with the Celtic HSBK Yamaha R6. And Sly Fox Performance was out testing their bike for the inaugural Drag Specialties King of the Baggers race. Check out all of MotoAmerica's social media accounts and see unique content you can't see anywhere else. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. When we come back, Hono's Superbike 5-time champion Cameron Beaubier takes us on a track walk in his home state of California.
Stay tuned for more on Inside MotoAmerica.
Welcome back to Inside MotoAmerica and WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Cameron Beaubier recently announced he was moving on to the American racing team in Moto2 next season. This will be his last race weekend in the United States this year and for the foreseeable future. How fitting it's in his home state of California. He takes us on a track walk around WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca.
Hey guys, Cameron Beaubier here, rider for Monster Energy Attack Performance Yamaha. We're here at Laguna Seca, and I'm gonna take you around the track and show you my 3 favorite turns. Behind us, as you can see, we're in the Corkscrew here at Laguna Seca. It's one of the most famous sections of racetrack in the world. It's a pretty crazy corner, just how much you drop. Even, the first couple laps I do, I've been here many times, and your gut just kind of falls out of you the first couple laps you go down there. It's pretty technical coming up, especially on a super bike, having to control a 160 mile an hour wheelie or however fast we're going. And then you slam on the brakes and you have to be so precise because the track falls off so much there at the end. I'm a flow rider. I like piecing sections together, and that's kind of how I go fast. So this is one of those sections where you piece it together and it really shows in lap time. My next favorite corner on this track is Rainy Curve, named after the legend Wayne Rainey, our big boss at MotoAmerica. It leads downhill from the Corkscrew. You definitely have to make sure, especially on a super bike, to get your bike pointed in the right direction and not accelerate too fast because it does drop off quite a bit. I've had experience, crashing out here a couple years ago, so I definitely know where to put my bike on the right line. And it is a tricky corner because the track is so banked, but then it falls off a little bit at the end, and you definitely want to be on the right line to accelerate down this hill. And lastly, the second to last corner here after Rainy Curve, when you piece everything together, it feels really good. What's important is you don't want to overbrake yourself going into this second to last corner because you want to drive out and make sure you don't overbrake yourself also going into the last corner, and it sets you up for a good lap time. So yeah, I just thanks for walking through on this track walk with me, and stay tuned for more Inside MotoAmerica.
We featured Max Flinders in an earlier episode of Inside MotoAmerica as he traveled to Barber Motorsports Park from New Jersey. We were able to film the moment he set eyes on his new hauler. He was finally able to take a break from the road and get it wrapped with his sponsor, Liqui-Moly, taking center stage.
Hey, it's Max Flinders, and we finally got the truck wrapped. Dude, it looks so good. When I first saw it, I was like lost for words. I was like, wow, that looks so awesome. And then everyone's been coming up to me this weekend going, dude, your truck looks so good. And I'm like, yeah, so we're gonna be showing off the truck everywhere we go. So I'm really happy it got done.
Coming into round 9, Cooper McDonald was 6th in the point standings for the Twins Cup class. He captured his lone podium last year in the round at Utah Motorsports Campus. Here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, Cooper grabbed his first ever pole position for the final Twins Cup race of the season and ended up just off the podium in 4th. He's part of the Bart Kahn Racing Team, which is a proud sponsor of the Wounded Warrior Project. Earlier in the season at Pit Race, the team sponsored 4 Wounded Warriors that participated in the opening ceremonies of the Honos Superbike Race 1. Yamaha World Superbike test rider Nicolo Canepa was tagged to ride the Westby Racing Yamaha R1 Superbike at the final round of the season in place of Matthew Skoltz, who was injured at the Brickyard event at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Nicolo's diverse experience will not only keep the team's competitive spirit alive, but will also help the Westby camp with invaluable feedback to kickstart their program as they head toward the 2021 season. When we return, I sit down with Josh Herron for the final Why We Ride of the 2020 season.
Stay tuned for more on Inside MotoAmerica.
Welcome back to the Golden State and Inside MotoAmerica. Growing up in California, Honos Superbike rider Josh Herron had early success as a teenager. He turned pro in 2006, a year after winning the WIRA 600 National Championship. And at just 19 years old, became the second youngest rider to ever win the historic Daytona 200. I sat down with Josh to talk about where it all started. This is Why We Ride. How did you find your way into the wonderful world of motorcycles? Where did it all start?
My dad has always been into motorcycles. Pretty much by the time I was 3 years old, I was on a PW50. I got it for Christmas. And I grew up watching like tapes from GP. Didn't really understand what it was. It was all in VCRs. It was like early 90s. Whenever I started riding, we started going to the Rose Bowl parking lot. My dad would just go set up cones and we'd go ride. Then we got a pocket bike. Took me to track one time on it. I broke my hand. I just grabbed a handful of front brake. I don't know what I was doing. Then we got into YSRs. That was maybe when I was like 6 or 7. And that also started the time when we began lying about my age, because then we weren't allowed to race till I was, I think, 9. That continued. Whenever I wanted to race 125, I had to say I was 14 for a year. And then when I raced WIRA, I had to say I was 15, but I was really 14. And that was always how it was. They didn't have the entry-level classes like they did. This was 2006 when I turned pro. All they had was Super Sport, Formula Extreme, and Superbike. So it was just the top-level classes right from the beginning. You know, I decided to quit when I was like 9 because I really liked playing baseball and basketball, and I wanted to hang out with my friends. So I quit for like a year, I think. Then got back into it and never looked back. That was probably 2001. So.
What brought you back to motorcycles after kind of taking a break there?
I think I thought I was like missing out on something by being at the track all the time, but then I realized I was missing out by not being at the track. You know, one of my dad's friends one day showed me a picture. It was like early 2000 of Rossi on 125, and he was like, "This is gonna be the best guy in the world." I think he started showing me tapes, and we started playing like the original MotoGP game, and I just, fell for it again, I think. And I was at like this invitational race in Oregon, and I like bawled. I did not want to race. My dad made me go out. Not being mean or anything, but he's like, "You're riding." We came all the way up here, "You're riding, come on." And I cried my brain out for a while. And then when I moved up to the 125, I did the same thing all the way up until the 600. I didn't want to race any of those bigger bikes. I just want to keep having fun on the small bikes. And that's kind of how I am now. I love riding mini bikes with kids. It's like the thing I enjoy the most is racing mini bikes. I guess it's never changed. So
why is it important to you to be a good influence and pass on good information to a younger generation of riders?
You know, I do care about helping out young kids, but it's also just because that's what I love doing. You know, I think there's no other pro racer that races mini bikes, so my competition becomes kids. It really does. I go faster than all the adults. I'm like, this gets boring just riding. So whenever kids like, Jesse James is a kid I'm helping out now, when he becomes fast, I'm just like, oh, I could race against him. That's what it is at first, but then now I have a relationship with this kid, and it's like he's like my little brother, and it's just so cool seeing somebody have that passion that I had when I was a little kid. And when you're riding mini bikes, there's no pressure. It's just, you know, I've always loved racing. I've never really been a huge fan of riding. When we're testing or practicing, I don't really enjoy myself as much as I do when I'm just racing. So when I ride mini bikes, there's no pressure, and I can just go and race little kids and have a lot of fun. I'm more passionate about riding the mini bikes for the kids than I am racing big bikes, and that's weird to admit, and I don't talk about it much, but I always said if I could get paid to race mini bikes, I'd be way happier than to get paid to race big bikes, if that's possible. But
What do you think the most important lesson you've learned from riding motorcycles is?
no matter what I'm doing in motorcycling, as long as I'm around it, that's what makes me happy in life. It's like a family, and yeah, it's just what I love to do.
Does it help to have a partner who has a greater understanding of the sport and of what you do professionally?
These last 2 years, I've experienced that, and you hear people talk about how happy they are and doing the same things that your wife or girlfriend likes to do, and that's been true for me. It's like I've found this new love for the sport because now she has no volley and we could go ride together, or she comes out and helps me when I'm coaching kids and does lap times, and now she's stepped back from work and she's helping me with all my, like a manager almost, and it's neat. We're like a team, and it motivates me. It's cool, and yeah, it makes everything a lot more enjoyable. So
If you could sum all of this up, the bigger picture, why do you ride?
as soon as that flag drops, it's like there's no problem in the world, and there's a lot of stuff in my past that I don't ever talk about that's been really bad, and anytime I've ever been able to race, everything goes away. The team does this huge, amazing job of making sure that the bikes are working, and we couldn't do it without them. But when the flag drops, it's on you. Everybody's on you. All the pressure's on you. Being so scared before the race and during the race, being able to celebrate at the end, that's the best feeling. And then, you know, I'm realizing that it's time to teach, you know, kids the same thing. It's neat just seeing them be so excited about something, and that feeling that I got, so that I still talk about it 20 years later, that's, I think, what I see in Jesse, and when I help Gavin and Ashton, any other kid I've ever rode with. That's one of the big reasons that I ride, is to experience those moments.
A little later on in the show, we catch Josh in the inaugural Drag Specialties King of the Baggers race. Stick around, you don't want to miss it. Coming up after the break, we hang out with a couple of riders as they find some downtime at the Fishermans Wharf in Monterey.
Don't go anywhere. Make sure you watch me race this 500-pound biker on the track. It's gonna be a lot of action, and be fun to watch, so don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to Inside MotoAmerica at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Make sure you visit MotoAmerica.com to bring home some new gear for the family. Show your fandom all year long with t-shirts, hoodies, hats, and more. Fill up your cart and purchase right from the site. Georgia-based Twins Cup rider Trevor Standish has seen a lot this season, but he hasn't seen the Fisherman's Wharf here in Monterey. Giving him a little tour and hanging out with some downtime is 2019 Supersport rider Corey Ventura, who's racing once again here in his home state of California after taking most of the year off.
How's it going, guys? I'm Trevor Standish with Pure Attitude Racing, number 16 in the Twins Cup. I'm here with
Corey Ventura. I'm with CV28 Racing. I'm doing a one-off in Super Sport. This is my first race back in MotoAmerica.
Well, where are we, Corey?
Dude, this is my home.
This is your home? Well, I see a lot of boats, so tell me about it.
I don't know much about boats, but I live out here in the Bay Area. Not quite the Monterey Bay, but up in San Francisco Bay, and this is my place.
This is your place. This is your place. All right, well, do you want to give me a little bit of a tour?
Sure thing, we'll do. It's not too hot, not too cold. We got the water, you can hear the waves crashing. It's a nice little flow, getting ready for this weekend.
Well, it looks like they got some shops here. Maybe we have to stop in, you know, since I'm a tourist, I'm in your town, maybe, you know, I have to check out some things. Let's go into the general store.
Is this a little thrift store?
You're not in California. You're not rocking the peace sign, Jay.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta find my name. Maybe they have Corey, but like with an I.
Maybe. Maybe with a K-O-R-I.
They got coffee, but they don't have Trevor Standish, number 16. Come on. Cindy, that's my mom's name. Shout out to Mom, love you. I always think it's funny when people wear lifeguard merch, but like they're not actually lifeguards. Like, especially for someone like me, you know, not being able to swim. Like I'm gonna be like, yo, are you gonna help and save me? They're like, no, I'm not a lifeguard. I'm like,
yeah, not okay.
Catfishing, it should be illegal.
So Trevor, how has your year been going? I know you mentioned my year, but I want to talk about you for a little bit.
You know, my year has been going very well. We've been making steady progress. We started off the year with a string of 10th place finishes, which being new to the class, I wasn't, you know, I was pretty content with that. And then we kind of moved it up and I've now had a string of 7th place finishes. So now it's like, well, I guess you just got to keep moving up, you know?
This looks like a light switch.
It does, but like, I guess it probably needs batteries. But I think that would be a great rain light for the back of my bike.
Check and see if that's legal for MotoAmerica.
It passed tech.
Hey, Trevor, I found your parking sign. Princess parking only?
Princess parking only.
What's your favorite animal? Like what?
My favorite animal? Like,
yeah.
Like a spirit animal?
Yeah, a spirit animal. That's what I was going for.
I'm gonna have to go with a falcon, you know? I mean, being from Atlanta, you know, we may not win a lot, but you know, I gotta rep the Dirty Birds. In fact, that's what the name of my bike is the Dirty Bird. And plus, like, the falcon's like the fastest animal in the world, you know? They get in that dive, they go over like 200 miles an hour, do you know that? So like, that's the kind of speed I'm trying to get out of my Suzuki SV650 is around 220 miles an hour. Do you think that's possible?
That might be a stretch.
With all the contingency and purse money that I plan on winning this weekend, I'm gonna need a boat to travel in style. Excuse me. What do you think I should name my boat? I plan on buying one this weekend. What's the best turn at Laguna Seca besides the corkscrew?
But going up the hill into turn 6 and then ripping up the hill to the corkscrew has always been a sensation for me.
Right as you kind of G out at the bottom.
Oh, yeah. And you don't downshift or anything. You just come in there, no brakes, just let off for a second, and then you're straight back to being pinned, and you just rip up the hill and hope for the best. I'm just ready to get back to the track and have a good old weekend. I'm so excited to be back. Oh, man.
Thank you, Corey, for the tour, and I'm ready to go for this weekend.
Yeah, of course, dude. No problem. It's gonna be fun.
My name is Michael Hummelsbach. I'm the motorcycle market manager at Öhlins USA. Öhlins as a company is a race and a high performance company. So in Sweden, there's a group of engineers that make sure that they design, dyno test, and do all of the R&D properly. Then they do great documentation like that setting bank and all of the computer programs, and they disperse that around the world so that all of our dealers, not just us at the factory, have access to. So anybody at a track day, whether you're at Buttonwillow, California, has the ability to access all of those components that we have. We have 7 people here on a regular basis, and we support the entire paddock, some of the bigger teams, contract individuals. So we'll have one contract to a superbike team, and they will get a suspension technician for the whole weekend. And that covers everything for them. It covers their service, their technical advice, and we're basically like suspension engineers for them. And so I think that's the big Öhlins advantage, is the information, knowledge that we have, that we share with everybody, and also the experience that Öhlins has as far as what they've learned around the entire world.
Hey guys, Cameron Bobier here. I'm standing next to my MotoAmerica Superbike, run by Monster Energy Attack Performance Yamaha. It's the furthest thing you can get from stock. As you can see, we have a partnership with Öhlins Suspension. Our guys at Attack are so meticulous with this thing and build it to go around the racetrack as fast as you can.
Next on Inside MotoAmerica, we take a different look at the world-famous Corkscrew and calculate the G-force the riders feel as they ride through this challenging section of track.
Stay tuned for more on Inside MotoAmerica.
Welcome back to the final round of the 2020 MotoAmerica season and Inside MotoAmerica at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Originally owned by the Army, the land for this 2.2-mile road track is a dry lake bed, which is where the name Laguna Seca, or dry lagoon in Spanish, came from. Rich in history, the track has seen the likes of Steve McQueen race it, the Grateful Dead play it, and this week is host to MotoAmerica's 2020 Grand Finale. The famous Corkscrew is one of the most unique features here at the raceway. It looks wild on TV, but the lens just doesn't do it justice. Standing here makes one realize that this is a serious roller coaster ride of a turn. We asked physicist Dr. David Harris of the Florida Institute of Technology to crunch some numbers to determine the G-force that our riders endure on this famous turn.
Looking at that corkscrew, that must take the greatest amount of control and skill to be able to do that. They're coming over a hill. Whenever you go over a hill like that, you lose a lot of your traction. So they're losing their best way to control themselves going over that hill. And then they're immediately dropping and having to go take a left turn and then a right turn. So they have to deal with lower traction, dropping a lot, and making two very quick turns in different directions. Keeping track of all of that and keeping control through all of that is incredibly difficult. They are losing a lot of their height. In physics, we call that gravitational potential energy. When you're high up, you have a lot of gravitational potential energy, and when you go down, you lose that gravitational potential and it gets converted into kinetic energy. So they're having to shed a tremendous amount of velocity already just from their decreased speed, but they're also having to shed the energy that would have been converted to kinetic energy from their gravitational potential. Because they're going down the hill, you usually speed up when you go downhill, but they are slowing down. These riders on that corkscrew have to go from a lean angle of 60 degrees one direction to 60 degrees the other direction as they go from turning one way to turning the other, and they do that in less than 1 second. Changing your angle by that much, by 120 degrees, 60 degrees one way to 60 degrees the other way, is a 120 degree shift in your lean angle. That, in less than 1 second, that takes a huge amount of torque.
The hardest thing is really when you get to the bottom, you kind of want to stand it up as you're going down the corkscrew because it drops off so much. Your bike will get light if you're too much on the edge of the tire. So it's at the bottom where it starts to not be as steep. That's where you really need to get it to pull to the side most. I couldn't tell you how much pounds of force we need.
I weigh 168 pounds, so it's probably like triple my weight, maybe double my weight, like 300 pounds.
97 pounds, I think, is what I experienced going down the corkscrew. That or 1 pound, I don't know.
You got so many different answers because we don't have a clue. I would say probably twice the body weight, maybe. So, I don't know, 300 pounds? 300 to 350 pounds?
I did the math. I found that the rider's having to deal with extra force on him, to control extra force on him, effectively equal to his own weight plus the weight of his bike. He has to deal with that much extra force in controlling that force as he goes down the corkscrew. Inexperienced riders might not be able to keep up with all these forces. There are a lot of forces acting on them, and that requires a tremendous amount of experience to keep up with all that. If we actually plug in the numbers into this equation, that force ends up being approximately 450 pounds. 450 pounds is about the weight of the rider plus their bike to begin with. So imagine someone actually trying to lift up a bike with a rider on top of it. That's the force that these riders are actually having to contend with as they maneuver down this corkscrew.
Hello, my name is Eric Gray. I'm the race manager for Altus Motorsports. The 2020 season, we're racing with riders Cameron Peterson in the Superstock 1000 class. We've got Kevin Almeida in the 600 class, and then we've also got Jarrett Nassani in the 600 class, and we've got Daniel Kennard in the 400 class, which means we've got our motorcycles on the grid almost every single event. We have a lot of really good sponsors that help us out. Motion Pro is one of our absolute tops. Every single year, they hook us up with all brand new, fresh equipment. They send all the new stuff as soon as they come out with a new item and try this out for us, tell us what you think. So we've been using the Motion Pro digital gauges for since I've been with the team, which has been for 4 years. The advantage that we like with the digital gauge is it allows us the ability to look at the tire pressures in tenths of a pound. Not only are we just looking at a sweep gauge that says 23 pounds, we can look at a digital gauge and we can see it says 23.2, 23.3. This helps the mechanic to be able to determine tire rise as the tire's getting hot. Did the tire go up 1 pound or did it go up a half a pound? We also have riders that are very particular about what pressure their tire is, and 1 pound's too much, but half a pound is just perfect. With this gauge, we have the ability to look at it and go, okay, 21.5 or 22.5, and then we can make each rider a little bit happier and hopefully go faster while doing so. One that we've gotten here recently from them is their new air schrader valve. This is really good because once you put it onto an airline, we fill our tires up with a nitrogen pressurization system, and it allows us to be able to get into and come into the schrader and get onto the schrader at a good angle, as opposed to having just a flat chuck like this. Sometimes if your hand is a little bit off to the side, you can actually let air pressure out of the tire as opposed to putting the air pressure into the tire. We would really like to say thank you to Motion Pro and their fantastic products. Without the use of their tools, we would not be able to have Altus Motorsports performing at the level that we are. And we would just really like to thank them and recommend to you that you run down to your dealer and pick these up and try them for yourself.
Next on Inside MotoAmerica, we go inside the inaugural Drag Specialties King of the Baggers race.
Stay tuned for the Drag Specialties King of the Baggers on Inside MotoAmerica.
Welcome back to Inside MotoAmerica. A sea of Harley-Davidson baggers hit the track along with 2 Indian Challenger entries in the inaugural Drag Specialties King of the Baggers race. The hotly anticipated race showcase didn't disappoint.
Twice the weight, twice the size. It's not all sporty. It's built for comfort.
So that's what makes a bagger is really these bags. That's really is what defines the bagger class, if you will.
My title would be the one that created this event. Got together with all of the vendors, had a big meeting at the Newport Beach Elks Club where all great motorcycle events come together. We created a loosely set rules where we had Luke Leatherman draw them up. At that point, we started building these bikes. COVID kind of sets in, and the next thing you know, we're here in October on maybe one of the nicest days ever. We're gonna have some of the baddest dudes ever that have thrown a leg over here at Laguna Seca, like Ben Bostrom and Corey West. We're gonna have Herron out there. We're gonna have, gosh, I can't, Hayden Gillum. It's gonna be crazy. Once we have the inaugural King of the Baggers, somebody's going to be crowned champion, and you're going to see these machines with swing arm and upgraded suspension, upgraded brakes. The motors are working better. The ergonomic package is really, really something that you could ride really aggressive through things like the Corkscrew. They take these bikes from about 850 pounds and have knocked almost 300 pounds of weight off, some of them even more than that.
It's 200 pounds lighter than what you could buy. All this is all custom carbon fiber.
The bike is street legal. We do have blinkers. It does have a headlight that we removed for the race. I mean, all intents and purposes, this is a perfectly street legal motorcycle.
These bikes are built for putting your girlfriend on the back, firing up the stereo, turn on the margarita mixer, and cruise, you know? And they're excellent for that. So making it do this was kind of monumental, but it's surprising how well they work.
This thing's as much of a race bike as you can have a bag on.
You know, a lot of guys that ride sport bikes, they go, man, there's no way that those big heavy Harleys are going to make it around the track. And we're showing them this weekend that you can actually make a Harley go fast.
Go fast, have fun, do some slides, go try and win a race, become the king of the bagger.
We're making history here at Laguna Seca at the most historic track probably on the circuit, and we're doing it with a bunch of my best friends. How much better can it be?
Taking a look at the not only race one, the only race, but look at that. We didn't know what these guys would do on the start, and that was pretty impressive going into turn 1 and 2.
I tell you what, watching Boston come up there, him was good from the second row to the front, but that Indian of Tyler O'Hara on that S&S bike was impressive. This drag race here, Vance and Hines and Roland Sands coming down into your lap right now. And that little off-track excursion, Rod, that'll get your attention.
Hey, luckily they got a good rider like Tyler, you know, get different, rides a lot of different motorcycles, kept that thing on 2 wheels.
You can see Hayden Gillum get a little loose in the caboose there. That just shows you how much he was pushing that bike. And when he saw O'Hara off the side, he said, it's my time to win this race. He just couldn't quite hold on.
And then he made that Vance and Hines Harley a little bit wider, too,
Yeah,
those last couple laps.
I knew it was coming. There was no doubt in my mind. Well, that was Bobby Fong and Hayden Gillum we were watching last year. This year it's Tyler O'Hara and Hayden Gillum. What a run by Tyler. An impressive victory and solid all weekend, Rob.
Every season provides some great moments, and we asked some riders what their favorite memory was.
Personal favorite moment of this year, I guess? I don't have one specific. Every round has been so phenomenal that it's been amazing. I mean, to be a part of the MotoAmerica paddock that's my favorite every time.
My favorite personal moment was probably at Road America, and it was my first round on the 600 at MotoAmerica, and I was able to go out and get a 4th, so that was pretty exciting.
For me, my favorite moment of the MotoAmerica season was our race at Indy. We didn't get the best of start, but we kept charging through the whole way and matched our best results. So.
I got married, so that was probably the highlight of my year. But if we're talking about just racing, we got BMW's first ever Superbike podium in America. That was cool. We finished only 3 seconds behind the leaders at Indy. That's the closest that BMW's ever been to the front of a Superbike race.
Obviously, I did the double at Atlanta, so that was really exciting. But I think the Superbike race in Jersey to kind of come up on the back of Bobby and run some really good times for me was, probably better than winning in itself. Just knowing that I could be competitive with those guys for me is a big thing. So
if you asked me after Road America 2, were you going to win the championship? I'd say probably not, but things worked out and we ended up getting both of them.
Definitely probably the man holding the camera, which you can't see. He spent a week with us traveling around, and yeah, we made fun of him the whole time. So that was a great moment in 2020.
Stick around for another fan favorite segment of Mic'd Up.
It's really not spinning up, really, honestly. All it's doing is this. It's just going
Welcome back to Inside MotoAmerica and the final round at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, just outside of Monterey, California. There's no better way to get an inside look at what goes on at the track than listening in on a few people we mic'd up in the paddock and pits.
When it comes to race time, gloves off. Now we're going sticky at the end here, right? Yeah. Both ends or just the rear end? Okay. The bodywork, the way it's mounted, is kind of loose, and it does this a lot. So yesterday, .28, 258. We already went faster.
A little bit.
Hey, good job, buddy. Good job.
It's always suspension.
Of course it is. It's always my fault. Well, again, it's just a bunch of old guys with decisions we're making. Bike looks pretty solid, man. That's good. He's right there with him. Go get him, buddy.
By the way, I'm mic'd up right now, but they'll bloop it out. They'll bloop it out. No, they said they take everything out. He's good. We're good. Yeah. Good job, bro. Yep.
Pump for you.
Bye. Nice seeing you, brother. I'll catch you. Hey, hold on. What are you guys doing Sunday night? What's going on around here? Oh, what's going on? Sunday's my birthday too. 29 for 8 years. Not coming, bro. The TC's fine here. Like, it's cutting pretty good out of 2, but it's more when I'm left to right transition, like the thing does the same thing. It goes, it just goes, I don't know what a lot of people are gonna run, but I'm gonna run the softest they have, because if I lose it in the beginning, I won't be able to catch them in the end, so I'd rather beat it in the beginning than manage at the end. I'm gonna go take a little nappy poo. I know. You guys get to work. I'm gonna take a little nap. I got a few hours of sleep last night. This is what we come to.
MotoAmerica announced the Heritage Cup early on in the year and gave us an opportunity to take exhibition rounds at Indianapolis and Road America. We're all racers here. We really wanted a chance to come out to Laguna Seca and bring these superbikes out to the track to put a real race on for glory and prizes. So we had an amazing opportunity to do this. My dad was able to put this bike together in time, and we got Scott Fabro to come out from Cretans Racing to join us and show us what we can do with these super bikes when put onto the world stage like this.
There's your leader with about a half a lap to go. He's just picking them off, Roger. And what's cool is watching that bike once again go through the famous Laguna Seca corkscrew. Just a few more turns to go. Hits rainy curve. 2 more turns to go here at Laguna.
Well, we still got battles all over the track, and it's amazing how consistent some of these best lap times are. So it looks like there's about 10 riders that really are closer together.
Yeah, there's 12 inside that 150 mark. But congratulations, Mark Miller. No surprise, but the lap times he was turning pretty impressive. A best time of 1:39.8. Mark Miller going to win by about 30 seconds.
It was very, very cool to ride this bike around. The turn 1 and 2, our turn 2 area is different, but other than that, we got the same real estate as they did 40 years ago. So what a joy, it's like I'm a time traveler. Just like to thank MotoAmerica for having us out here. They fit us into their awesome schedule, and there's 2 or 3 days worth of amazing racing, and to be a part of their infrastructure was a real joy, and I'm really privileged to be a part of it, and thank you.
Well, thank you to MotoAmerica for giving us this opportunity to show what heritage bikes are to the entire audience coming out and seeing us. And we can't wait to have all the spectators come out and see this and get to feel it and smell it live next year. 2021 Heritage Cup coming your way.
The provisional schedule for the 2021 season has 8 of the 10 rounds tentatively in place. The remaining 2 rounds locations and dates will be named in the near future. The season finale of Inside MotoAmerica will be airing in a few weeks on the NBC Sports Network. Check your local listings for air times and be sure to set to record it on your DVR. For all of us here at Inside MotoAmerica, I'm Hannah Lopa. Thanks for joining us.
Are you coming to Laguna Seca? WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca? MotoAmerica 2020. Is it still there?
It's gone, dude.
What does SS stand for?
Super Standish?
Super Standish would be the name of my boat then.
What a race we've had by this guy, Cameron Beaubier, into the final corner, the final time of his Hono Superbike career. Cameron Beaubier, 51 race wins in MotoAmerica competition. Tony Elias, his last ride on a Suzuki, gets second place, and Lorenzo Zanetti, a new star in Hono Superbike,